What happens when you're running low on energy and your compassion and understanding for other people in the world is like at a -5? That's exactly what we're talking about today and how it impacts your manifesting. All right, you're listening to Mindful Manifesting, and this is Ariana Rollins. So happy you're here. But before we dive into this episode, if you'd like to kickstart your manifesting journey, maybe it's a little paused for now and you want to infuse it with some energy, go to mindfulachiever.com and you can get a free guided meditation and a workbook there. And it's really good. All right. So this is a personal episode in terms of I'm recognizing this in myself. So you know how people can describe someone who's compassionate, they're understanding, maybe even they border on the empathic, maybe they're very sensitive, and people go to them for compassion. They feel seen, they feel understood, they feel held, they feel loved. And those people are wonderful people to be around because it feels good to be understood. We all want to be understood. We all want to be listened to deeply versus, I don't know if you ever had this experience. I had this experience pretty recently, actually. I was at a group lunch, sitting next to a person, and I'm talking, sharing a story, and there's this blank gaze. Maybe there was no interest in the story. That's fine. But it was like there was no presence, no awareness, no energy in the exchange. So I switch topics, try to, find something else that might be interesting. But there's no two-way dialogue going on. There's energy going out, for example, me sharing a story, which I thought was interesting, and it was helping somebody. I gave a really interesting review. Little side story, we'll get back to this, is I went to a sound healing with sound bowls, a little bit of Reiki, and beautiful harp music and didgeridoo. And I can't tell you that I got a great awareness, insight, but that night I slept the deepest I've slept for a very long time. And I wear one of these Garmin Smart Move watches, and it was rated excellent. Well, I've only had excellent since I've been doing this for about 6 months, that I was amazed. Normally I'm poor, fair, good, excellent. So I shared it with her. So I was describing that to the friend I was sitting next to because my friend who I gave the review to was right across from me. So it was a relevant story. Well, blank gaze. Okay, let's circle back now to compassion and how it affects your manifesting force. So if you have ever been in a situation where maybe you've had a friend who has been sick or a friend who's been going through a relationship challenge and you're their go-to person for talking things out and expressing how they're feeling and what's going on. And so you know blow by blow what's going on. And you hold space, as a coach might say. You give them empathy, compassionate answers maybe for what they could do, how they could support themselves. And maybe this has been going on for a while and you feel the well is running dry. It's you can't muster compassion. It's it's just, you love the person, you want to help, but there's nothing in you. Okay, I said this was personal, so I'll share the personal story. And it's going to be about my dog, right? My dog's my biggest teacher right now. So I've been traveling quite a bit actually this year, and I've had various dog care people come take care of my dog. They're all amazing. I vetted them. Yeah, you would imagine me in my attention to detail. Well, my dog was never reactive, never whining, never nervous with storms. And I was so grateful. Yay, you are a sensitive, reactive dog, and excellent that you don't mind storms. My other dog did. Well, this last trip I took, I come back, and 2 incredible lightning. There was a tornado watch in Austin. I will tell, I was a little nervous. They were estimating up to 80 miles an hour. I think that was on Saturday or Sunday night. It's like, what? In Austin? Well, the dog is freaking out, like pacing back and forth and, glued to me, like having to lean against me for comfort. Well, this morning, having been through it for quite a while, quite a few hours, I looked at the dog. I said, I have nothing left in me. I have no compassion. And then I joked to myself that my compassion was a -5. And that brought curiosity to me. Because what I realized is that compassion is an expression of our heart. When we have a manifesting desire, it starts with an idea, right? So if we think about our mind as like, oh, I'd like this. It's a desire. And yes, I'd like to experience that, improve the quality and loving of my relationship, have more clients, increase my revenue, get a new car, have more friends, buy a new house, all sorts of desires we could have. Well, we get that idea. And this is just me explaining it simply. There is a whole lot of other body of work that describes manifesting differently, but I'm describe it in this way. We have the thought, we have the desire, we have the idea, we have an urge. And then we start to tap into the feelings of it. How will we feel when we have that upgraded, loving relationship, new car, new house, more clients, more money? We start to feel into it, and we Photoshop perhaps a future memory, articulating what we want in detail, or maybe an idea of it. It doesn't have to be vast detail. But you know how you want to feel. Maybe you're going to feel grateful, joyful, excited. Maybe you're going to feel relieved. Maybe you've been a little bit under the weather, as they may say, regarding finances, and a little concerned. And so a part of you is looking forward to that relief, sleeping better. Maybe you can treat your family to something nice. Maybe you can cut back on a little work if you've been overworking if you're self-employed and an entrepreneur, to attract clients. And it's like, wow, I can just rest. And that rest feels really good. So you have a sense of what you want, that clarity, that mental energy, that projection. You're launching that rocket. And then you're tapping into the power of your emotions. How will you feel? Because your emotional energy is that, like filling up a hot air balloon. It's that energy that gives your desire liftoff. So you can also think about it as launching your rocket of desire, that it's actually going out into, however you like, quantum field, the vortex, or as I like to think about it, I've asked my unconscious mind for help. It's all within me. And then we get all sorts of unseen support, like we've talked about in the last episode. So we've done the work. We've got the foundations. Now, say something is going on in your life, like you have that friend who's going through a lot, or you got a needy dog that is, you've got compassion and understanding, but then you're upside down. You're giving out more than you have. How do you think that affects your emotional equilibrium? How do you think that affects your outlook on life? Are you feeling a little jaded, a little down energetically? Are you drained? Well, I believe if you're not balancing that compassion, it can start to close your heart. I have nothing more to give. I mean, I literally said that today. And I was like, whoa, I got to really check this. Because obviously the friend, obviously the dog, they're not doing it on purpose. It's a give and take of a relationship. So what do? Because you, in a sense, if you've ever seen a hot air balloon, they turn the fire up and it creates hot air, and that fills the balloon and it lifts the hot air balloon up higher. So I see that and liken it to you have a higher perception, a higher view. You are looking out from a mountaintop, higher than a mountaintop, and you've got a vista and a perspective. You can see things that maybe you don't see when you're down on the ground. And that is helpful for manifesting. You're not attached so much to the physical 3D world because you're up in that hot air balloon. You're not seeing the dog reacting. You're not talking to the friend who is going through something. You're not connected to your worries. You are in a new experience and creating a perception of, wow, look at this. This is what it looks like. My whole neighborhood, the park. Wow, and I could see the ocean over there. You are fully, deeply in the present moment. So if you think about compassion tapping into your heart, opening your heart, which is a loving, really, really good thing to do. But if you've got too much you're giving out, where is that manifesting force, that power, that hot air, like the hot air balloon? Where's it going to come from? It's not. You can't just fabricate it at will. So what do we do? What if we are over giving or over caring? Is it boundaries? Maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe you could, in that example with the friend, say, I'm all talked out. I have no energy for you right now. I'm sending you a big hug and so much love. Can we check in tomorrow? What if you practice true self-care? True self-care. That you look at where you are and how much you can give, and that it's too much. It's too much. Because, my friends, you need to nurture and give some hot air to your desires, your manifestations. And that doesn't mean we're not compassionate and loving people. It just means knowing when we have overdone it to the outside world, because we want to save some reserves for what it is we want to attract and what we want to bring into the world. And then guess what happens? It's quite magical, really, is that you have more to give. So when you focus on your intentions and you give time and airspace and energy to that, you feel uplifted. You've actually nurtured your own heart. You've given compassion and love to what it is you're working on. And you feel good. You've fed yourself and nurtured yourself first. And then you've got more to give. Your cups are full. Like there's an expression, the cups runneth over. That's a term that I've often thought to myself. When I'm in great well-being and I'm practicing true self-care, not like, I've got to do yoga because that's self-care, or I've got to do meditation because that's self-care, and I'm pressuring and forcing myself. That's not true self-care. That's my routine. That maintains my emotional and physical well-being, but that's not true self-care. True self-care could be saying no because I'm all talked out, saying yes to something that lights me up, saying yes to my intention and what could I do to further it. So explore that a little bit, because I think compassion is a pure manifesting force. We just need to reserve some compassion for ourselves, for our life, and for our desires. I enjoyed this episode. Hope you did too. And I'd be so grateful if you'd be willing to share a review where you listen to the podcast, because it helps others recognize that there's value in the show and it can expand this work. And as a human design manifester, impact is something I live for, making a difference in other people's lives. Thanks so much for listening. Bye for now.